In this video, I'm going to tell you about FOMO, the fear of missing out, and how it can really mess with your hobby. Most of us have probably heard of the term FOMO before. It's the fear of missing out. And it is generally considered to be a little bit more about experiences than things. You're concerned about missing out, so you always have a tendency to go out to the local bars. I had a friend like that in college who always wanted to go out just so that he wouldn't miss anything. What it was that he would miss, I don't know, but that was always kind of the concern. So with experiences, generally that's where FOMO comes from, but especially in wargaming and in a lot of different kind of collector style hobbies, there's also the fear of missing out on specific products. Now, missing out in our particular kind of subgenre of a subgenre, like you got gaming, which includes video gaming and all kinds of stuff, and then you got tabletop gaming, which is a small portion of gaming, and then amongst the four different genres of tabletop gaming, you got your board gaming, your role-playing, your collectible card games, and then you got your tabletop wargaming miniatures folks. We're the smallest of the four. The reason that you get FOMO sometimes, the reason that you actually do miss out, sort of, on certain products is because there's a small number of us, potential customers, to sell to. In huge consumer products, they make millions and millions and millions, and it's fine because there's millions and millions and millions of potential consumers. But with us, and with the fact that a lot of the companies in our industry are also quite small, very frequently you can't very easily as a manufacturer make the right number of products to solve your sales problem. It has to do with trying to stay lean. I would sometimes like to stay lean, certainly, but it's a different story. What I'm talking about is the concept of we make 1,000 of these because the price break for us as a manufacturer is good, we can make 1,000. But we sell out of all 1,000 of them immediately because there's a lot of people that want to buy it. Now the question becomes this: do we make another 1,000? Are there another 1,000 people who want to buy it? Or as it turns out, there's only 1,300 people who want to buy it. We make another 1,000, we sell 300, and then we're sitting on 700. So it's that whole situation that we see quite frequently in our industry, especially amongst the smaller companies who only have so many resources to be able to, produce so many books or so many models or so many bottles of paint or something like that. The bigger companies, Games Workshop, they also sometimes run afoul of this to some degree as well, but generally they have more resources, so it's a bit less of an issue, mostly. Now, the whole limited edition thing, that's a different story altogether. When a company says, hey, this is limited edition, they're already telling you up front that this is only going to be so many and then we're not going to make any more. And there's reasons for that. It can be for false scarcity, marketing. There's lots of different reasons to go that route, just for collectors and things like that. Although I found that in comics back in the day, that if it said collector's edition, that meant it was going to be generally useless or worthless as far as like reselling and stuff like that. So, it was the stuff that nobody knew was going to be a collector's edition. That was the stuff that was actually going to resell. But we're not really trying to resell our miniatures and stuff like that. We're just trying to get what we need to be able to play our games. However, running lean can be very risky for a company. If they run too lean, they don't sell enough products. If they run a little bit over, then they sit on a whole bunch of extra stuff. And this is one of the reasons why Kickstarter is such a huge deal for gaming companies, because then they have this very specific number that they already have the money for, and they know exactly how much they need to produce. And then that's why sometimes retailers get angry, because they're like, well, everybody who was going to buy this thing bought it during the Kickstarter, and now you're trying to get me to put it in my store, but I have a suspicion that no one's going to buy it. And so that's the back and forth, and that's potentially a subject for another video. But that's why Kickstarter is so interesting to so many different companies, specifically small, tiny companies within tabletop wargaming, because it allows them to be able to hit exactly how many things that they need, and they don't have to worry about being too lean or producing too much stuff. But being lean can also be risky to you as the consumer. And I don't mean that this company being lean can be risky to you. I mean your own personal leanness. We've been seeing it during this time of pandemic, this time of virus, I see it constantly in the comments. I go through and read every single comment that shows up in my YouTube channel. I don't go through every single video and then pick every video or pick every comment. I have a feed that shows all the comments no matter what video. And so it's very easy for me to just scroll through when I've got a little bit of time and read all comments. I can't, go back and refer or reply to every comment, but I can definitely at least scan them and get the idea of what's going on. And it helps me understand what things to talk about in videos and what's kind of going on with the people who play the games that I keep talking about. And during this time, I am seeing a lot of comments from folks who are saying, I have all this extra time and I would love to paint, but my brushes are all janky and I'm having a very hard time finding new ones, or I'm out of primer, or I'm out of brown wash, or whatever. And so that is a situation, frankly, that I've never had, honestly. I go the opposite direction. I do not run lean in my hobby. There are folks out there who, when they finish a unit of models, they then go buy another unit of models because they don't have anything else to paint. Me, when I finish a unit of models, I go and reach like that way and pull. It wouldn't have been awesome if I would have had something to grab actually there. That would have been funny. But I do grab something and then just start painting because I have a basement full of stuff. So I'm running more towards away from lean, I guess, fat. I don't know. It's hoarding to some degree. And I've made a video about it a long time ago. Pachow. But the benefit in this kind of hoarding situation is that right now, if I can't get to the local shop, I'm good. I have plenty of stuff to be able to paint, and I've been spending a lot of time getting things done, both things that I want to use in the channel. Last night I was building Warcry terrain, which you'll see eventually in a bat rep. But I've also been doing a bunch of kit bashing and painting for other games that I've been, really interested in. And so having a lot of things, and I've talked a lot also in the past about being able to switch from project to project to project. If you only have one project and you have no other painted models anywhere in your collection anywhere, then you can't really switch projects. And I understand some people hate clutter, they're minimalists. Some people just don't have the money to be able to buy things and whatnot. But the whole concept of missing out, has to do a little bit more with overbuying due to fear of missing out and what that can kind of do to your overall hobby. The important question that you need to ask yourself at any time when you are preparing to buy something because you don't want it to pass you by is, are you really going to be missing it though? It's a fear of missing out. Are you really missing it? That's the question. Take a look around if you're watching this, maybe in your hobby area, or just think back to your hobby area at home and think about how many things that you absolutely had to have that you have not touched since. And then you have to make a decision. You have to start to think to yourself, well, okay, am I fine with just having this huge backlog of things that at least I don't have to worry about trying to buy later on? When people talk about missing out on certain things, like something that comes out and is gone, like they only made 1,000 of them and I wanted to get one and I couldn't get one. Well, if they make a limited edition in Wargaming, and there's very few companies that are doing that these days, other than Games Workshop here and there with certain codexes and models here and there. If you miss out on that, you can go onto eBay. But because it's been called limited edition, unlike in the comic books realm, like I was talking about earlier, it will probably go for a kind of dummy high price. It will end up just basically being something because people will know of the rarity and all that kind of stuff, so they're going to try to flip it. Just like people do with video game consoles when they first come out and you can't find them anywhere. It's the way that we as human society seem to run. So at that point, you then have to decide to yourself, is it really that important that I actually have this thing? If you do actually miss this thing, this model, this book, whatever, are you going to be able to make it? Are you going to be able to go on? I think you probably will. Think about how many different games you can possibly play at any given time. I'm not telling you, I'm not one of those people that says you should pick one game and stick with it and don't vary. I vary quite a bit. But I, Lord knows, have way more games in my basement than I will probably ever play, different game systems and things like that. I do like to hop around and find stuff that really fits what I'm interested in, and then sometimes other pieces kind of go by the wayside. And that's just the way it works, and I've become okay with that within my hobby. But you have to decide whether or not the fear of missing out, which can be very frequently led by marketing, honestly, which we all know is kind of sketchy. As a person who works in marketing, I can tell you that. This is not something that should necessarily make you rush out and try to buy everything, because you will, in many situations, end up with things that you may not ever touch. You may not ever use them. And then we get into the whole situation that I talked about in the previous video that I did up there, that basically you're going to end up with a whole bunch of stuff in your basement potentially after you die. So understand that when you are concerned about missing out in this industry, if you're concerned about a new launch product, something like that, really understand that rushing out to buy does not help you in the long run, because then you're just going to end up with more stuff, and you can only paint so many hours in the day, you can only play so many hours in the day, you only have so much time during the day. So understand, even during this time when we're all kind of sitting around with extra time, understand that missing out is rarely ever actually missing out when you're looking at the wargaming industry. Because even if you did miss out on this thing, if you wait a little while, those prices on eBay will drop again, because other people will be like, yeah, I don't want to pay that much. And then you could end up getting it maybe a couple years down the road, and it'll slot perfectly into your current paint schedule, and then you'll be able to paint it and have it, and then make the decision about whether it was worth it or not. 1, 2, 3, 4.